Hello, welcome to the Microsoft Excel training. In this video, we're going to be looking at Excel solutions, and this is going to be the very first part of the Excel solutions. The Excel solution training is intended to use practical approach to using Excel. So we will be doing practical examples, and so this will involve the use of different tools. But our intention is not just to teach the tools, but to see how these tools can be applied to practical tasks. Because there are people who are confronted with some practical tasks, some tasks, but they don't know which tool to use. So now we have this Excel worksheet, and then of course this worksheet has four columns: the account code, the account name, the debit, and the credit sheet. So what we want to do is to perform some tasks. The first thing is, how do we sum the values at the bottom here using a formula to get the total of all the debits and of course the total of all the credits. So what we need to do, the fastest way is just select these two, then extend beyond. So you use a mouse button, actually, you use a mouse button and you select, but make sure you extend beyond the, the data so that you can use the AutoSum. The AutoSum is on the Home tab, and then on the Home tab you go to Editing, and then you can just select AutoSum. So you will see that the total has been given. Okay, the total has been given at the bottom. That is splendid. Okay. So another thing that you can do is use your shortcut key, which is Alt plus equal sign. So you make the same selection, right? You make the same selection. You come through like this, and then when you get to this place, you just use Alt equal sign. So that will also give you the same result. All right, so that takes care of AutoSum to calculate the total debit and the credit. Now let's look at the average. Use average to calculate average debit values. So what is the average debit values? So we are going to put equal sign, and then we put average. Then we are going to pick this range. Okay, we pick it excluding the total, and then get the average. So this is the average of the debit. Okay, and if you're trying to calculate the average for the credit also, why not? You're going to pick equal sign average, open your bracket, select the debit, the credit values, and close the bracket, and of course you get the average of credits. Okay, so that takes care of this assignment, average of the debit values. So this is for the debit, this is for the credit. And the next thing says try count entries by account name. So we want to know how many entries of each of these account name do we have. So the first thing I want to do is to pick the account names out, and I can just simply remove the duplicate. So I will use remove duplicate option. So remove duplicate is on the data tab, and at this point under data tools, on the data tools, you see remove duplicate. So you can, that will give us the unique value. So 12 duplicates removed, unique. So we can now use the count if, and these values will be our range. These values here will be our range. So we want to find the range. The COUNTIF says we should find the range and the criteria. So this here will be the criteria since we have picked the unique values out. And so that tells us that we have 4 occurrences of account receivable. And if we drag for orders, we can see. But to avoid having error, we'll make this into absolute reference. And to do that, you select and you use the function key F4. Function key F4. So to do that, so you select and you use your function key F4. Press enter. So the function key F4, sometimes some systems will require you to press the Fn before you use the function key. So now, so looking at this result, we can see that inventory appeared twice, utilities twice, sales 4 times, cash 3 times, salaries once, rent expenses twice, and then bank twice. So that gives us this, okay, to know how many times the accounts appear, right? So then the next thing here says we should find, so I'm going to move this. I'm just going to insert extra columns. So the next thing says we should flag all values over certain amounts. So for instance, debit over 5,000. So we want to flag debits. So we're going to say equals if the debit value is greater than 5,000. Then what do we want? The value if true is, you can say high. Debit is high. And if it is not up to that 5,000, we can say debit is low. So we have flagged that. So this says it's high, and we can go that way. This is low, this is low. Sorry, this is for the debit. So don't forget this value is against the debit. So this is low. This is low. And this is low. Okay, so these are high debits. Okay, so as you can see, we have been able to use the worksheet to respond to these tags. So let's say we want to add according to these account names. We can also say equals sum if. So in this case, we're going to pick our range from the account name. We pick our range, right? And we're going to set this as our criteria because that's what we're using to compute the values. And then our sum range is where we have the value. So if we're working with debit value, definitely we'll pick the debit. Okay, so we are summing by debit, right? So summing by debit, and then so this will require absolute reference to lock this range so that this range does not move. As we copy this formula downwards, this range does not move. So we're going to use the function F4, function key F4, select this also, and use the function key F4, then you can close the bracket and use the enter key. So this is going to be addition of all account receivables here. And if you copy down, this is going to be an addition of all inventories, addition of utilities, addition of all sales. And if you still want to find the average of each here, why not? You can do equals average if equals average if, and then you can now pick your range. Of course, the range is by account name. You can pick the range, account name, and then the criteria will be the names here, the unique values, and then since we're still finding the range of the debit, so we'll pick debit values here. All right. So we're still going to make this absolute reference function F4. Let this also make it absolute reference function F4, and then you hit the enter key. So this is the average of each of these. Now you can see that this one that is a single value gives you the same, because this value divided by this will give you this. So this is practically what you have done here. What this function has done here for you is practically the same thing as doing equals this value divided by this value. So that's what you got there. Okay, so you can see that they are the same. So, but this is just using a formula, and this is using the average if, applying the same pattern and condition. So this is the count if. This was sum if, and this was average if. And then of course this one was average by division. All right. So you can see that we have been able to provide solution to the questions that we have been required on this particular worksheet. So I hope that you have been able to learn something from this Excel solution part 1. So we're going to come back at another time and look at part 2 of this particular lesson. Okay, so this is how far we've been able to go, and we have seen the average, the count, and then of course sum and their values. So you can see the formula, and you can see this. And so this was by division, so copied it down, and this also did the average of debits and the average of all the credits here, and that was also by the average function. Okay, and we also did the sum. So we can sum all our values using the AutoSum, and you can also use the the alternate equal sign to sum your values. Okay, and then we went further to flag the debit to see which one is higher and which one is lower. All right, so if you have any question from this particular video, you can put it in the comment section in this YouTube channel. Put it in the comment, and then I will respond to your question and help you to solve whatever solution you're trying to find. All right, so, and I also want to encourage you to subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you can catch up with all the beautiful things that will be happening going forward. Bye for now.